Yo, what's going on? It's your boy Mill Hustles with HEB Mike, aka B Tech Reviews, and we are here with another long overdue episode of the Scorpion Deathlock podcast. Today we're going to talk about CM Punk for the most part, Randy Orton returning, Jade Cargill, R-Truth, and that fiasco of a match between Adam Page and Swerve Strickland, where they were drinking each other's blood.
Yeah, that was some pretty disgusting stuff that I really didn't care to see. We'll get into that, though.
A lot to unpack. And yeah. I know the 3 or 4 fans we have been waiting to hear my opinion and yours, I guess.
Well, we are live right now, so let me maybe go ahead and share this on the X app or Twitter, whatever you guys want to call it. And then we'll get that going. So definitely people that are joining in or watch the after, please smash that like button and please, comment if you guys have any comments on, the stream itself, right? Let's go ahead and share this to Twitter or the X app, like I said. And then, we'll get the stream going here. Welcome, guys. Hopefully everyone had a good holiday. Hopefully everyone was enjoying their time with their family and friends. If you celebrate, if not, if you were just working and it was just another day for you, then, cool as well.
They should just name. I wonder if Mars would have a problem if they just bought the name Twix, like the candy bar, and we're just going to call it Twix. Twitter X together.
Yeah, we'll just call it Twix instead. That's pretty good, actually. I didn't even think about that. Okay,
it's a lot better than Twitterx.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's go ahead. And I already posted this up on Twitter as far as the link goes. And we are multi-streaming on our B-Tech Reviews page and on the other page. So let's see. Hopefully everyone's doing good, though. And I guess let's just jump into the main topic of conversation, right? Which is CM Punk and his return at Survivor Series, and a shocking return at that.
We were all worked. We were all worked. Mm-hmm. Everyone was worked. Even the pros were worked. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to happen, but I guess I should have paid attention to all those, hints that they were throwing. Which honestly,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Which honestly, I didn't know because I'm not into wrestling like that. I don't pay attention to every single little nuance, but yeah.
I mean, first of all, the cool part is that other people and other media outlets were figuring that out for us, because I mean, every time they had a Raw over the last 2 months or so, right? It was either Corey Graves making, some sort of subtle, announcement or kind of subtle promo, kind of hinting things from the past that Punk did in Ring of Honor. And same thing with Shinsuke Nakamura. Nakamura would throw out these random promos that were, kind of reminiscent of CM Punk and what he did in his, I would say his pre-WWE days, right? Nothing wrong with that, right? I kind of enjoyed it, and everyone's like, yeah, this is what CM Punk said, in Ring of Honor, 12 years ago or whatever, however long, many years ago it was. And I was just like, okay, cool. I kind of feel like it was kind of like the Bray thing where they were kind of doing stuff in the crowd where they would have guys walk around with the signs and little subtle hints that it was going to happen. But then, towards the end, they kind of just worked us to the point where they're just, a lot of, not just one person, but multiple media outlets were saying, no, it's been confirmed that Punk is not going to return. So stop talking about it already. Right. I think that was the good part about it. Cause literally by the time Survivor Series did come around, most people were not talking about it anymore. Myself, I had a little bit of speculation saying, well, he's either going to show up or he's not. So it's still a 50-50 shot. So did you get to actually watch the return live though, Mill?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I got to watch it live, and I was literally about to turn it off because I already saw the WWE logo as they were panning out and doing the wide shot, right? But I was just like, no, this is too obvious. You still have the faces in the ring, especially Seth Rollins, right? Who we know that CM Punk has history with, right? I think we all know that that's going to be the feud or the continuing feud that's going to happen with him. I don't know if that's going to happen immediately, but anyways, seeing guys like Sami Zayn, Cody Rhodes, the faces of the company, right? Basically, and now CM Punk coming back and him being the, basically the big. I don't know if he's going to be a big baby face or what. I don't know what he's going to be. Right? You don't know what he's going to be right now because again, he just signed 3 days ago, right?
I'm glad you brought up Seth Rollins because that guy just doesn't get it. He just doesn't get it. Like, if he was going to pretend to be angry at CM Punk, and remember, I said, this is blurring the line. I didn't think about it until later. It's like, if he was really that angry, how come he wasn't showing that in the ring? He should have gotten upset once he heard the music. Like, he should have told that to himself. Yeah. Well, maybe if he would have remembered or cared, but it's just the guy's psychology is just way off. Like, it's the same thing when he had that feud with Nakamura where he was always like getting his back hurt or some shit like that. And then the night after that pay-per-view, he's walking like nothing happened. That guy he just doesn't get it.
No, yeah, and I understand. I guess there is kind of like a fine line between like what's happening as far as like kayfabe goes, and like you said, the basically following like a work or continuing to make it look like it's real, basically, right? You know what I mean? And
nobody in real life, unless he screwed your girl, shot your dog, and burned your house down while you were still in it and you survived. The anger he was showing was just way too over the top.
Yeah, no, I think he went a little bit overboard, especially, I mean, like, I kind of agree that, there should have been some sort of like semblance of angerness when Punk debuted, right? I guess, you kind of have to put that on WWE and the production team. They were not really focusing on, the people in the ring when Punk made his return. It was, CM Punk, and they just kind of focused on him. And yes, they kind of, went back and forth a little bit, but not to the point where like they were doing close-up shots of guys like Cody Rhodes or Seth Rollins. So I can't put it all entirely. And of course, you have to watch the after the TV goes off there.
I'm going to tell you a tidbit about Triple H. Every time he was in a war, the next night on Raw, like in a pay-per-view war, the next night on Raw, he sold it. He looked like he got his ass whooped. He should not work that night, but he still does, even as a heel.
Oh no, I agree. I think Triple H was probably one of the best as far as selling anything, whether it be like whatever's happening in the ring or like you said, selling like an injury, whether it be fake or not, right? So I think I commend Triple H for that over the years. I think that's something I appreciated about Triple H back in the day. And again, it doesn't really transition to what we see as far as today goes, at least for him, you know what I mean? As far as Seth Rollins goes, but I think that's not it's a pretty good comparison, I guess, but I wouldn't, who knows? Like, there's really no one nowadays that really can kind of fool us like that. At least in my opinion,
Yeah, because they don't have the psychology. I know I'm the old man yelling in the clouds, but Seth Rollins just doesn't get it, bro. I mean, he's a good wrestler. He does a lot of moves. He's okay on the mic, but honestly, it's time for someone to have that belt at this point.
Yeah, and I feel like the people that he had, he's pretty much taken down all the top guys. Obviously, he's going to be defending against Jey Uso. I don't know if it's next week or the week after, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But pretty much, he's beaten all the top guys on Monday Night Raw. So it's like, well, now that CM Punk's there, is that going to be the feud leading into the Royal Rumble? Is that going to be the match, or is it going to be? There's a lot of scenarios that can happen, right? Are we going to see CM Punk in the Royal Rumble, or now that he's there, is he going to be the guy that kind of dethrones Seth Rollins and maybe goes into WrestleMania as the champion? Or again, now that Cody kind of put his name out there saying, hey, I'm going to be the first guy to put my name as the Royal Rumble person, the first person in the men's Royal Rumble, at least, it's going to be an interesting scenario. I don't know what they're going to do with it. I don't like the plans can just, go one way or go another. I'm interested to see, what would you like to see Mill Hustles on that though?
I'd like to see a bunch of new writers take over and make the shit real. That's what I would like to see. I mean, there's so many ways to go with this, but they're stuck in a wrestling echo chamber where it's just not believable. And we only get excited whenever we see a return or a debut.
Yeah.
Like, it's just It's hard, man. When you've been in the business, it's hard to have an objective view, man.
No, yeah, and I definitely understand that. Coming just from a fan's perspective, right? I guess myself, right? I think I would like to see. Obviously, I think if this is the case where Punk and Rollins do like duke it out at least the Rumble, right? Let's say that Punk's not in the Rumble, right? I'm pretty positive that Rollins is probably going to be the heel in this side of the spectrum, but who knows, right? It could be one of those double babyface scenarios where you just see that. And we'll see how it goes, though. I think it's going to be interesting, and of course, there's going to be a lot of, Rollins already cut the promo saying he doesn't want to waste his time or his breath on CM Punk, right? But we know that that's not where it's going to go, and I think eventually at one point, they are going to clash, and there is going to be heads butting. You know what I mean? It's not going to be like when CM Punk was in AEW, and then he shows up and he's like, yeah, I want to work with all the young talent and this and that. I mean, if you think about it, all of the guys in WWE right now, they're pretty much all veteran talents at this point. You have guys like Chad Gable, who's been there for like 10 years as well, right? Nakamura, who's been there many years. Ricochet, who's been there for, again, he's been on the main roster for a good 5 years already, right? It's not like they're, these guys are like, fresh out of the indies, like in AEW, right? Which is the difference. I think that's the good part about that is that, there's going to be a lot of feuds that I would definitely like to see.
Man, you got to remember this, bro. You know what the main difference between AEW and the WWE is?
Sure. What's
the WWE is the wrestling business.
Yeah.
AEW is not. AEW is a company where people run around doing whatever they want versus being told what they do. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, you're right. It's all the all elotes, and that Tony Khan kind of lets his buddies, his BFFs, kind of get away with shit and look at where it's landed them. You know what I mean? CM Punk's return was the biggest return in wrestling history as far as the social media standpoint goes. Even bigger than his original return from a couple of years ago. It got pretty much double the hits in WWE than it did in AEW, which I think is.
Well, the thing about it is, last I checked, the AEW YouTube clip has 14 million views in 2 years. Yeah. The WWE one, let me see what the WWE one is real quick.
I haven't checked out. I haven't checked the current one, but I know that they were going off the Twitter video. So
they're at 5.3 million in 2 days.
So pretty much that's like a third. Yeah, that's a third of what AEW has had in a couple of years. So, and again, whether it surpasses it or not, it doesn't really matter because again, it's WWE's most social event or whatever of all time.
You also have to remember that they have 100 million YouTube subscribers. Mm-hmm. So the advantage is just toppling any other wrestling promotion in the universe.
No, they're actually.
But you know what? I'm gonna go from a fan's perspective. I enjoyed CM Punk's AEW debut better.
Yeah, I think it was. And personally, yes, different. Same here. It definitely felt different. I enjoyed both pops. First of all, I think the one in AEW was a little bit different. I don't know if they pumped up the audio a little bit. I think the Survivor Series crowd was a little more tired because it was at the end of the show versus the Rampage debut, which Punk that was at the beginning of the show. So the fans were excited. They were pumped up. They were like, yes, this is gonna freaking happen, and then it did. So at the end of the day, though, I think a lot of people are happy that that Punk is back home in WWE, just like his promo, "I'm home." And even though he didn't really mention anything, and I'm pretty sure like he's legally like obligated to not say something about AEW, especially in WWE. You already know it's already taboo. But he kind of threw a few shots out there during his promo, like the one at the very end says, "I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money," which you can't tell me that was not a dig at like the all elotes out there. What do you think about that?
I mean, I guess, but isn't that what we're all here for?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, of course, I think either company.
What was the other nickname? What was the other nickname we made for AEW? I don't remember it.
I just go by all elotes, honestly. I don't know which other ones you've said on your side. There
was another one that we came up with on our last show. I got to go back and watch it. It was pretty funny though. But yeah, moving forward.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You got to remember that when he debuted with AEW, he was coming back to wrestling after 7 years.
Yeah.
And with WWE, he was just 2 or 3 months, off of wrestling, so he didn't really go nowhere. But the emotion was a little different because he's back in WWE. I sensed a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Conflict in him, because it's like, I'm back in a company that I shitted on me for so long. I would have not said I'm home.
Yeah, I think those were not I don't think those were the right words either. It kind of felt weird.
But at the same time, what's the absence makes the heart grow fonder, man. Things can be forgiven.
Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely agree there, and I think it was a smart thing on Triple H and Nick Khan's part. I'm sorry, on bringing him back. I think that even though it probably wasn't a good idea, at least right now, I think it was kind of. I think it's like if it didn't happen, a couple of nights ago at Survivor Series, when was it going to happen? A lot of people were speculating Royal Rumble, which that would have been that probably would have been a big, huge pop also. But I feel like now was the time to do it, especially if there was like like as long as his NDA cleared out in his 90 days or however many days had passed, that they need to pull the trigger on this, because if they don't, they're not going to be able to kind of build decent stories to either lead into the Rumble or lead into WrestleMania. It's going to feel rushed. I mean, and how that rushed feeling feels like, AEW does it all the time. So, and
they're in Chicago.
And they were in Chicago. So, I think it was the right thing to do because they were in Chicago. And, the entire night, we were getting CM Punk chants. I think even there was a house show one or two nights prior where they were, chanting CM Punk. And it's just like the fans want it. Like, just give it to the fucking fans. You know what I mean? For me, personally, it was going to be one of those deals where, I knew he was going to return no matter what. It's just a matter of when. But going back to what you were saying, that, he returned to AEW prior, obviously, he did work with WWE prior to some capacity when he was doing the Fox show with, Renee Paquette and, Saraya and whoever else was on that show. I think Samoa Joe was on that show as well, if I'm not correct.
Samoa Joe and
Booker T as well. So, there was some sort of communication. There was some sort of, semblance of trying to make amends at the time. But I think there's been discussion that at the time, I think Vince didn't want it. You know what I mean? But, even back then, I think he was already at the point where he was like, never say never, right? Never say never.
You never say never in the wrestling business. I mean, Bret Hart came back.
I think that's the best example that we could use. I mean, we could use Hulk Hogan, right? You can use Stone Cold Steve Austin also.
No, I mean, with Hulk Hogan, it was just business. It wasn't really that big of a deal. Stone Cold walked out over a creative thing. Okay, what the hell is that?
I have no clue what that is.
So talk with your baby's doctor.
Sorry.
Yeah, with Stone Cold and Hulk, it wasn't that serious. With Bret, as we can remember, he got the Montreal screw job happened. His brother died a year and a half later. So it can happen.
Yeah, and I think for Bret Hart, I think what kind of made it worse was that his brother died in the WWE ring. And that kind of worsened things. But the Montreal screw job was kind of a big thing at the time, and I feel like it still is. I feel like it was a huge thing to happen, whatever it happened. But I mean, the guy came back. He forgave Vince. I don't know if he forgave Vince fully, right? But hey, he came back and he made amends, and he finished off his career as far as wrestling goes, I believe, in WWE. Which I'm just happy to see that he's not out there trying to fucking do like indies or AEW. I think he made an appearance in AEW because he did debut the AEW championship. But
yeah, I mean, he reached out to AEW. I think he wanted to be a manager or an agent or something, and then Tony Khan had a different ideal for him, which was ridiculous. And he just said, "Nah, I'm good."
Yeah. No, yeah, that's understandable.
And then also with Bret Hart there, knowing someone that takes the business as serious as Bret Hart does, I guarantee you he would have had a blow up with the Young Bucks.
Oh yeah, no.
And Bret doesn't hold his tongue, and I love Bret Hart for that.
Yeah, no, I think that's the cool thing, and he's kind of like the older version of Punk in a sense, right? Where he does.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're pretty much, I wouldn't say carbon copies of each other, but he was kind of like the guy that was in that, position, 10,
And you
15
got to
years prior.
remember that Punk idolizes Bret Hart.
Yeah.
Like Punk has cried over Bret Hart on camera, which is, it just shows, man, the level of respect. Yeah. When I know, like I've told you the story about me and Jim Neidhart and his wife. I spoke very highly of Bret to her, even though she doesn't speak to him.
Oh wow!
So,
I mean, who would have thunk? I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't. Who knows what the relationships are between the family? I mean, they had so many kids, right? And it's like so many wives and husbands and ex-wives that. I'm pretty sure, like, now that Neidhart's obviously passed on for several years already, that there's probably no communication there. So, I mean,
yeah, you never know, man. Kind of a dysfunctional family, but yeah, man,
it is what it is. I think that's how all big families are.
Yeah, but just to wrap up CM Punk, he's already drawing money. You see, top seller again. I
ordered the shirt, by the way. I ordered the shirt last night. I didn't order the Survivor Series War Games shirt because that one had like the logo in the front and the back. But I did buy the new black CM Punk tee, so that'll be coming in. Hopefully, you
forgot to ask for my size.
Too funny. You're too funny, sir.
But I just hope that Triple H really looks out for Punk because he's gonna make the company a lot of money, obviously.
Yeah.
I hope they don't overexpose him. Punk does not have to be there full time.
Definitely not.
I hope he's not.
Stage of his career. Yeah, same. I hope he's not.
And yeah, like I just hope that the WWE I think is more professional. So I'm sure people that don't like him, which I know there is people that don't like him, they'll be like, well, it's best for business. Now that he's back, we're going to sell more tickets, which means more money for everybody.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. I think we're going to continue to see more record-breaking events, especially with them going overseas a couple of times next year. Also, I think they're going to go overseas like 3 or 4 times. Maybe not for like the big 4 pay-per-views, right? But we're going to see a few of those like, mid-range pay-per-views that will, happen. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. But I guess going forward, right? And I do have your list here of topics of conversation that we want to talk about. I think I do want to skip one of them, and I want to go straight to Randy Orton's return also. So
hold on. Let me say one more thing about Punk.
About Punk, go for it.
Yeah. There's a lot of people, the dirt sheets are throwing salt on this, saying, oh, there's already dissension backstage. Oh, he's not going to be there 6 or 7 months. All this other crap. Look, at the end of the day, CM Punk is rich.
Yeah.
So if he has to leave again, he don't give a fuck. I personally would be upset if he left again because somebody tried him. Or somebody just wanted to whine like a little bitch about him. It's like, come on, guys. Like, if we have a guy that draws money, that benefits everybody. Okay, so grow the fuck up. And what I love about this whole thing is Vince had no say-so in this. And if Vince would have tried to step in, Triple H literally could go to Ari Emanuel or whatever his name is, like, hey, we want this guy. He's going to draw us a lot of money. And he has a proven track record. Bring him in. But Vince said, no, I don't care. Bring him in.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, the longevity of Punk is still yet to be seen, right? I don't think there's going to be...
And then you got to remember that it wasn't that Vince didn't hire him back. Triple H and Nick Khan did. So it's a different thing. It's different.
Yeah. Plus, again, Vince is not in charge of creative anymore, so he's not going to have the final say on a lot of things. And again, like you said, Ari Emanuel might be the guy that says, "Hey, I want this guy because he is best for business." But going back, just to finish off this, I personally don't think that Punk is going to have any issues backstage or communicating with some of the younger talent, right? Because like I said, a lot of those talents have been there for years already. They developed in the NXT system, right? And again, they moved on and they've been on the main roster, whether it be SmackDown or Raw or whatever. for several years now, right? Now, of course, like there is going to be some talent that are new, right? That are still new and fresh to the system, but I just don't think that it's going to be what we saw in AEW, right? Because like I said, a lot of these guys came from the indie scenes. They didn't get to work with production and actual producers, people that write stuff, right? Again, I just don't think it's going to happen like what we saw in AEW, where basically people were just writing their own storylines, and TK was saying, "Yeah, I think that's going to be good." You know what I mean?
Look,
So
put it this way: these indie guys, and I know a lot of them would agree with me. If you've never had legends on your indie show and have dealt with the diva attitude that a lot of them have, then that's not That's not the wrestling business. That's just some carny wannabe shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. Are any more CM Punk?
I'm sure I'll think of something else.
CM Punk is going to be the highlight of this stream, right? We're already almost 30 minutes deep, and it's pretty much been all of CM Punk almost. So I do want to talk a little bit about Randy Orton's return at Survivor Series, right? Obviously, that's part of your script tonight, right? Thanks again for writing the script for us, Mill Hustle. Shout out to you, producer of the Deathlock podcast and Booker, yeah. So he's Booker, and we've been meaning to get on for the past couple of days, but of course, it was the holiday weekend. A lot of things happening. We're all working, so yeah. Orton returning at Survivor Series, and definitely again, we're gonna kind of get back into it, right? It was a little overshadowed by CM Punk, I believe. As far as the War Games actual match and everything like that goes, I think the War Games match was horrible. I think it was shit, honestly. I think the entire pay-per-view was honestly just kind of like, it was kind of a throwaway Big Four pay-per-view. But especially the men's main event, right? Especially once all of the men were in there. The only fun spots that were happening were when Orton actually got into the ring, right? Not to say, and again, not to discredit any of the other guys that were doing things in the ring, right? Just again, like really, like the whole Drew McIntyre thing, for instance, right? Kind of just went under the water, right? All this hype up of him being in the cage with Jey Uso, just nothing really happened. I'm just like, okay, well, and then again, once Orton went in and the match ended pretty quickly, there was not a lot of near falls, right? I think WWE. I think they were just kind of going for, hey, let's finish this in 3 hours instead of going overtime, which, I've noticed that from last year to this year that they have been pretty much ending on the 3-hour mark on all their pay-per-views, right? I don't like that personally, but I think, whatever. But, I think they did that because they wanted to kind of squeeze in Punk at the very end, right? I personally didn't like it. Now, Orton coming back is a big thing, right? I think Orton is one of those big names that, just that exuberates the crowd. It gets the crowd excited, whether he's a heel or he's a face, he's one of those guys that can come in and just take over, and they can give him, they can throw 10 belts on him or whatever, and he'll run the fucking show, right? And he's never been a guy for me that like I've cared to see his promos or anything like that, and he's never been like, oh, I need to see his fucking wrestling either, but he's just one of those guys that just gets the shit done, and he knows what he's doing. And just like I think one of the wrestlers that I think made a comment about him saying that he's like the best, like time as far as timing goes, he's like the best person as far as timing goes in the ring and whatnot. So and glad to have him back. I think he looked great, by the way. He looked like he was a little bit heavier, a little bulkier. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
I didn't, honestly, I didn't know he was gone that long. Oh, yeah, it's like I can't believe it's been a year and a half.
Yeah, almost 2 years.
He's gotten a little injury prone, but that happens when you've been wrestling there 25 years or however long he's been. But he looked good, man. Dude, Randy Orton is one of my favorite wrestlers. Mm-hmm. And the thing about Randy Orton is he's like a larger than life character. So when he stands next to some of these other acts, they look like children next to him.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, like JBL said, like if you had to build a WWE athlete, he's the embodiment of that, basically.
Yeah,
we got Borganta in the house. What's up? We finally got Borganta in the house. Look at that. Finally, somebody in the chat. What's up, Borganta? Thanks again for joining in on the stream. 30 minutes in, but hey, better late than never, I guess, right?
Yeah, man, but it's good to have him back.
What are your thoughts on his promo on Monday Night Raw? So they did kind of give him the go away with that, since I guess the whole CM Punk thing overshadowed him on Sunday, which I knew was going to happen. They gave him about the first 15, 20 minutes on Raw, where he got to kind of chat, and then of course Rhea Ripley comes in the ring and kind of gives her her 2 cents, I believe. But I think it was a very solid promo. What do you think about that?
Of course.
Yeah.
I just wish that we had the old Randy Orton, the completely unfiltered one. Hell,
Yeah.
I wish you would have gave Rhea Ripley an RKO.
That would have been interesting to see, and for whatever reason, I think it's going to happen eventually. I think she's one of those female stars that doesn't care to take bumps from the guys. I mean, I know Nia Jax, I think, took an RKO a couple years back when she was in the men's Royal Rumble. I don't know if anyone remembers that, right? But it's something that WWE stays away from, and I don't really care if they do or not, right? I think that there should be some sort of intergender wrestling to some degree, I guess, but I think that's what's going to happen eventually. I don't know when. It's just going to happen, and we're just not going to see it coming. And I'm just going to be laughing, and it's going to be interesting. But as far as him and his feud with the Judgment Day goes, I guess we'll see where that goes. Right? I forget who
he'll give him the rub. With these two guys coming back, I mean, there's so many directions they can go. Like those two guys, him, being Randy Orton. Pronouns, pal. CM Punk and Roman Reigns, those three guys. If I'm missing anyone else, I apologize. You're not important. Anyway, there's so many directions they can go, but it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be writers that are going to focus on them and give them decent stuff, but everything else is just going to be a bunch of filler.
Yeah, and the cool part about this is, as far as we know, Randy Orton is not catered to one show. He is a free agent, so he can show up on Raw and SmackDown. So he can go and raise hell on both shows, which I'm excited about. I think he's going to go wherever the Judgment Day ends up on. I mean, Judgment Day is Raw, obviously, right? But, obviously the brand split is basically dead now that TKO took over. I don't think anyone really cares about the brand split anymore. So we're going to see how that goes. I believe, though, that he most likely is going to stay on Raw and feud with the Judgment Day, at least going into the Rumble. Who knows how, exactly who he's going to feud with, right? He did have a match with Dom Mysterio, so I don't know, where that's going to lead. Obviously, he won the match, obviously, on Monday Night Raw. But I guess we're going to – I'm interested to see what they do with him, because prior to his return, he was tag teaming. He was in a tag team with Riddle. Riddle's gone now. So maybe, we'll see, Randy Orton team up with somebody else, somebody fresh this time around. Again,
honestly, when he mentioned the bloodline in that promo, it's like, you know what? Put him to feud with Jey Uso. Turn him heel. Turn Randy Orton heel.
Yeah. And
have him go after Jey Uso.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen, at least not yet. I think, we'll see what happens with the bloodline. I think what I know is going to happen. I think that he's probably just going to end up tag teaming with Jey Uso, and they're going to take the undisputed tag titles away from
the thing about it is that the reason it should be now is because he mentioned that because of the bloodline, he was out, on storyline for a year and a half. So, in my opinion, that whole Judgment Day thing, just move it to the side and have him feud with Jey Uso now. Because if he does it in a few months, it's just not going to make sense, in my opinion.
I guess we'll have to see if he pulls the trigger on that or not. Again, like you said, it's got to happen within the next couple of weeks, or it's got to happen where, like they're teaming up and then he's just going to end up turning heel and kind of betraying them at one point or another. And then Cody's going to be like, what are you doing? Cody acting all surprised like he always does. Like, come on, do you not expect Randy Orton to turn heel at any point, right? It's going to happen eventually. We'll see if and when it happens. I will, but for the most part, like I said, even before his return, he was a hardcore babyface with Riddle. So let's see if they continue to stay in that direction or not.
I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I feel like these babyface and heel turns, whenever they happen, I feel like the wrestler that gets, turned, I feel like they're a heel or babyface way too long these days.
Well, I don't
know. I don't know if I'm right or wrong.
I can't comment on that, I guess, because sometimes the stories are so short that I can't get invested to see whether who's face or who's heel for that long in general. I guess it's just, like for me, it's just like as long as the story is okay, like I don't really care who's face or heel anymore, honestly, right? As long as the story's entertaining and the matches are semi decent, then I'm good. Like I don't even care.
Yeah, I guess.
You're like, what? Either way, okay. Moving on to the next topic of conversation here. Unless you have anything left over with Orton.
Nah, not right now. If I remember something, I'll.
Okay, not right now. So let's move on to Punk's promo on Monday Night Raw. And was it what people expected?
Yeah, like, obviously people are expecting him to bury AEW, to air grievances with WWE, but you got to remember that, thinking in the humanity aspect, he's still processing being back in WWE. Because look, if I was to go back to a job that I left on really bad terms and I hated when I left, being back could be, refreshing, or it could be like, oh, like I'm here again. Oh, I'm dreading this. Could be a mixture of both. So, that's not even a wrestling business or a fan perspective. It's just coming from a human emotional perspective.
It's like me getting fired from HEB and then going back after like 5 years and being like, well, I still love HEB, I'm home. So I mean, I guess I'm looking at, well, me personally, like I guess I look at it a little bit differently, right? I can see your side of it, right? But on my end, like, just like what Triple H said during the press conference, right? You have to understand that, it has been about 10 years, right? And Punk has been in other places, right? He's been in UFC, he's been in AEW, right? He's done a little bit of acting here and there, a little bit of commentary, so it's not like he's just been kind of laying on his ass, not doing anything, and just kind of tweeting away every week and saying, hey, I still hate WWE, right? Even going back to a couple of years ago before the pandemic, when they were doing the Fox show, I think it was during the pandemic when they were still doing the Fox show, and then they kind of just ended it after COVID happened. But there was, again, like I said, some semblance of trying to make amends, I think. And people change, right? Not just, not just himself, right? But I think the company has changed as well. I think we've seen the company do a lot. And even if I don't know if you guys watched Steve Austin's podcast from like years ago, right? Where he interviewed Vince. And I think they did talk about CM Punk during the podcast. And even, even Vince said like, hey, he would like him to come back someday, right?
And Vince apologized for how it happened.
Yeah, because I mean, of course, we all know what happened, right? Punk, they sent him his pink slip on his wedding day, right? And of course, there was legal issues, right? Punk was, there was just stuff going on, right? That maybe people followed, maybe people didn't, right? So of course, it left a sour taste in Phil's mouth. And by all means, right? Of course, WWE is not a perfect company. We've seen what's been happening over the last couple of years, and its ownership, or its former owner, what's been going on with him. So we know that the company in its entirety hasn't been perfect. Also, making a lot of mistakes along the way. So I think maybe not forget the past, but at least kind of try to make that amends and try to just make things work. Trying to make things work, honestly, I think is the most important part for Phil, and I think the rest of the WWE talent roster, whoever is there, right? Of course, maybe there is a few guys that have heat with him. I know Roman Reigns also has heat with CM Punk as well, besides Seth Rollins, and whoever else.
But I'm sure Roman, being the leader he is in the locker room, will do business. Like, that's like, Roman has said it multiple times he doesn't like CM Punk.
Yeah, no, and it's been, I mean, it's been the same story again for years with Seth Rollins, right? He's been pretty verbal about not liking Punk and wanting to kind of, I guess, get in the ring with him already. Real quick pause, Borganta saying over here, I noticed that the PS5 has trouble staying in stock. I haven't been to the stores lately, but when I went to Target, well, actually I did go to Target like a couple of days ago with my family. There was PS5s in stock. I haven't been to Walmart lately to check out what their stock looks like, but I know probably with the new PS5 Slim coming out, right? There's a new version of the PS5 that came out that they are, pushing out. But I was at GameStop also on Black Friday with my nephews, and I saw plenty of PS5s there. So I don't know. Maybe it's just your area, Borganta. Maybe try online if anything. I'm pretty sure that you can find, if you're looking for one, try online. If your local Walmart or Target maybe doesn't have any, just that. I feel like that would be the right way to go. But anyways, going back to the CM Punk's promo, I think a lot of people were expecting more, like you said. I think a lot of people were disappointed. I certainly wasn't, because I kind of knew I knew right off the gate that if he wasn't going to be at the beginning, that he was going to be the main event, and I knew they were going to kind of cut it as short as they could. I think it was just short and direct. I didn't think it was great. I didn't think it was shit, though. You know what I mean? I think people are just knocking too hard on it, and I could tell that Punk was even nervous in the ring, because I mean, it's been years, right? And he's not gonna be able to get the same treatment that he was in AEW, because I mean, he was able to just say and speak his mind, but you already know that that's not going to happen in WWE. Maybe yes, to some degree, once they actually sit down and write stories that make sense, right? But they just can't go in there and be like, hey, you're a piece of shit or whatever, or I hate you, this and that, right? That's got to make sense. And right now, again, he's only been signed for a couple of days. So it's like I think people expected more, but I think people's expectations are a little high also. It's not like he hasn't been back. I mean, he's been wrestling, injuries here and there, left and right. Yes. And are we worried about him getting hurt? I'm worried about him getting hurt. But again, I feel like he's in a safer environment rather than, AEW, because AEW's talent gets hurt every other pay-per-view. Like it just happens. You don't see that as often in WWE though. Yeah. So I don't know. I think it, for what it was, I think it was all right. I didn't think it was bad though.
I didn't think it was bad. I think it came from the heart.
Yeah.
But it's just wrestling people nitpicking.
Yeah, and again, for people that are mad that he wasn't, taking the shots at, either, whether it be guys like AEW or Tony Khan or the Young Bucks. I mean, there were subtle things that he said that, you can kind of reference it as him kind of knocking at AEW as well. Like the very end again, where he said, I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to make money. So you could kind of say that, like, hey, the friends thing that he was referencing to was the Elite. And of course the business side of it, right? I'm here to make money. I'm here for a much bigger purpose. He's here for the business, right? He's not here to be your best friend or to fucking, be giving hugs backstage, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, moving on. You want to add anything to that promo?
No.
Okay. So we got a few more little topics of conversation. Again, thank you for writing the script here. So we do have, I guess, even though we haven't really seen much of her, let's talk about Jade Cargill.
Yeah, so there's people complaining that why hasn't she debuted yet? Yeah. And I don't think people understand how green she is. Like that's not someone that was going to get put on TV a month after they got signed. She needed a lot of work. You know what I mean? She needed a lot of work, and people just need to chill. I think we'll get her at the Rumble. Perhaps in the women's match, but that's a pet project for Shawn Michaels and Triple H. You're gonna see when she actually debuts that people are gonna either be impressed or they're gonna be like, what happened? Like,
she's gonna be
what they trained. I think they'll be impressed.
I think they're doing the right thing and they're holding back on that, right? Yeah, of course, they have showed her, in some aspects, right? Not wrestling, obviously, right? But she's been showing up to shows or backstage, making small appearances, interviewing, whoever needs to interview her, right? But at the same time, like, why give her that much exposure right now? She's with the company now, right? But again, like, she's not a seasoned veteran with guys like CM Punk that can just come into a company and transition, right? Like you said, she's green. I hate to use that term sometimes, green. But it is what it is. She is still kind of relatively fresh to that, and she needs to get used to the WWE system. And again, that's a lot of people are not used to that way. That's why even though you're popular on the indies or in other companies, whether it be Impact, TNA, or whatever you want to call it, or MLW, You have to get used to that WWE ecosystem, how to cut promos on camera, and not just that, but you want to be polished in the ring as well, right? You want to make sure that you're not being lapped around by a lot of these talents that are very young. A lot of the talents that they have in NXT and even on the main roster now, even though again some of them are seasoned veterans, females like Charlotte Flair, females like Bayley, right? They can fucking go, dude. Like I watched Bayley in a house show like not too long ago, about a month and a half ago, dude, and she was fucking going crazy in the ring, dude. Like I was like, God damn, like I was like, Jesus, like, but everything was polished. Like I was not like there was not a lot of nasty miscues or botches or anything like that. You know what I mean? But again, seasoned veterans that have been there, that know what they're doing, that can help. And again, once she gets antiquated with that, I think it's going to be great. I think we'll see what happens with Jade though.
You know who I think is who are you just talking about? You cut out.
Bayley,
yes. You know who I think is going to be the litmus test for Jade Cargill, honestly? Bianca Belair.
Oh, Bianca. That's a good one also, yeah.
The reason I say that is because Bianca Belair is like her athleticism is off the charts. Yeah. Like it's to the point where I've noticed when she works with certain people, her pace is so fast. Yeah. Her agility, just her athleticism altogether. Yeah. Like I feel like she makes certain people look bad, not on purpose, but it's like some of the girls just can't hang with her, even the seasoned ones.
Yeah, you're right, and I agree. Like I've seen the matches I've seen with her. Like it does show that she does need to kind of slow it down a little bit, right? Like they say, sometimes less is more, especially in the wrestling industry, especially when your opponent is not being able to keep up pace with you, because like you said, she's so athletic that it's starting to make the, and it's not on purpose, like you said, but it can make, some of the other talents look bad. And, considering her background, she was a collegiate athlete, she was a freaking track or field star, whatever you want to call it. She was a weightlifter also. I think she did weightlifting competitions as well. She was an athlete. She was one of those people that, that transitioned from there and into WWE, and she freaking, succeeded and then some, right? Obviously from NXT to the main roster, and they didn't give her the championship for a year for nothing, right? She was the women's champion for about a year. And I'm not forgetting that, I that's still in my head that, she's still one of the top 3 females in the business right now. Not just in WWE, in the business. Okay, people, right? There's so many top female wrestlers out there, but she's going to be up there. It's going to be interesting to see if they do put her into some sort of thing with Jade. Now, of course, I could see them, maybe to start getting Jade, again into the system. Maybe put her into a tag team with Jade, and maybe get them into the tag division and get her a little more comfortable, especially on air and on TV and everything like that. But we'll see how it goes, man. I don't know. I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, I'm excited. Jade, again, she's going to be a star, and let's just hope that it's in everybody's favor.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yes, that's correct.
All right. Any more comments on Miss Jade before we move on to the last few topics here? No,
we can move on.
Okay. All right. So going back to CM Punk, because we all love to talk about CM Punk. He is the ratings. He is our ratings guy, by the way. But okay, hold on. Let me just answer Borganta's comment really quick. Borganta said, Walmart might be awaiting the slim models of the PS5. Yeah, he says he already has a PS5. So shout out to you for having a PS5. So do I. I haven't played it. I need to turn it on. But yeah, so going back. So the disciplinary committee that was in charge of firing CM Punk. Who was on that list, Mill?
I said Bryan Danielson. Mm-hmm. Matt Hart. Honestly, like I don't know. There's the article.
Yeah.
Was this committee even real? Like, if they would have said Tony Khan and his lawyer, and the EVPs, that I'd believe that, but I don't believe this that
Yeah.
Bryan Danielson had anything to do with this. And I absolutely know at their next media scrum or Tony's next interview, they're going to ask him
They're
about
gonna
it.
ask him
And
probably.
he's either going to deny it
Yeah.
or he's going to say, I can't answer that. If he says, I can't answer that, then we know that's true.
He's going to be
We're
like,
not
I'm
gonna-
not legally obligated to answer. I can't legally talk about
Yeah,
it right now.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, it's just weird. I don't know how the hell that leaked, if it even did.
Yeah.
But that's just really, really weird.
Obviously that leak did reach several wrestling media outlets, right? And I did see posts about it all day today online. So again, I don't know if it's real or not. If it's true, I think maybe and I don't see it like as a bad thing if Danielson was on the disciplinary committee. I really don't, because Danielson is probably really good friends with Phil in real life. I don't think there's any question about that. They've known each other for years. Did they ever work together in AEW? No. In WWE? Yes, obviously.
They go all the way back to Ring of Honor.
Yeah, no, they go way back. I think
But
even
honestly,
like the early Ring of Honor days. So
I just question if Bryan Danielson was the reason that happened, or they said, yeah, we'll let him go. I find that very hard to believe.
I mean, if it was a committee, then maybe he was on the committee, but at the end of the day, I would, even if Bryan Danielson was the final vote and said, yes, let's fire him. I think, he was, if that was his decision, right? If he was part of that decision, I think he was doing what was best for AEW at the time, right? Maybe not best for what the business was taught as far as that the aspect goes, but I think that maybe they kind of had their hands tied. Maybe there was some sort of okay, if we don't do this, maybe there will be legal issues, or maybe this will happen, right? And again, him being CM Punk's friend, maybe that's why CM Punk maybe wasn't as verbal about it post firing, right, as far as that goes, because he didn't do any interviews, or he didn't talk to anybody.
Dude, this is the thing. That mentioning that's probably what was best for AEW was not what was best for AEW.
Well, I think we know that from the financial standpoint, because we know that they're going to lose one rating. They've lost a lot of ratings since Punk has left, and of course, that even after he left, his shirt was this. I think right now it was still sitting at the number 2 top selling shirt for them. So
if his was number 2, who was number 1?
Who fucking knows? Obviously, it's not Kenny Omega, or it's not the Elite, because no one's fucking buying Young Bucks shirts. No one gives a fuck about those guys. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, nobody's buying their stuff no more.
No one's going to the pay-per-views to be like, yeah, I really want to see fucking Matt Jackson and whatever his brother fucking do fucking 10,000 super kicks and then win a match that they probably shouldn't have won. You know what I mean? No, I don't really give a shit about that anymore. I'm down to see Kenny. Kenny, I love to watch Kenny. But that's it. I don't care for the Young Bucks. I don't care for Adam Page. I don't care for that. I didn't care for that. The match was Swerve a little much, but I think it was. I'm glad Swerve won that match. Is all I want to say, man. Because
honestly,
that match, I would have been pissed.
The reason I hated that match, was because it's supposed to be a violent match, like a blow off, but there was so much obvious cooperation.
Yeah.
And it's that's the part that I hate. Make it look like a struggle,
Mm-hmm.
and don't do phony shit like fucking staple your face, drink your blood. That's just that
was too much, in my opinion.
AEW, that could really, really get them in a lot of trouble, because that is extremely unsanitary.
Yeah, I was gonna say, damn, they are not passing OSHA standards right now. Is all I'm gonna fucking say. Yeah. No, that was not something I enjoyed, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. When it comes to that, but regardless, like I said, as far as the allegations go with Bryan Danielson, right? Well, if he is going to be a part of the that backstage role eventually, because we all know that he will be retiring after next year. As far as full-time competition goes, I don't know if he's still going to be wrestling, but as far as full-time competition, yes, he will be retiring. I just think, I don't know. It is what it is. I don't, who knows if it's real or not. If it is, cool, whatever. I'd rather get fired by my best friend than by some punk ass loser that won't even take a little shove backstage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just me, though. I mean, of course, vampire
I mean,
wrestlers suck.
And going back real quick,
Yeah.
When the Bucks stormed his locker room and they got their asses kicked. You got to remember that Punk, even though he didn't have a great UFC career, he still trained to be a martial artist, and I'm sure he kept training even after those 2 losses. So I'm sure he knows how to defend himself.
Of course he does, yeah. And I know when guys like Malachi Black or Aleister Black, whatever you want to call him, went in. Like, I know that him and Punk were training together, when Punk went into AEW. So of course, they weren't wrestling training. They were doing MMA training together, right? So of course, I'm pretty sure Punk knew what he was doing backstage when that shit went down. So, but yeah, anyways, last topic of conversation, I guess, unless you want to add anything else to the Bryan Danielson allegations.
Nah, I just don't believe. It's going to be very interesting to see how this.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, and we'll see what they talk about the next couple of days. I'll keep an eye out, and I'll send you some messages about that. Final topic of conversation, and it's the big elephant and the other big return of the night at Survivor Series, R-Truth. And Little Jimmy return, hopefully, and we'll see how that goes. But R-Truth, right, was one of the returns of the evening, which shocked everybody.
It was nice to see him. It was nice to see him. But the reason I bring that up is because I want people to watch him during TNA's first year.
Oh yeah, he was one of their top guys, I believe. He was the TNA champion also. No,
yeah.
He was NWA
he was
champion.
An incredible heel, and he can work. I think that they've gone past the point of no return of turning him into a serious character. But
and I have nothing no rejection on that though. Like, I love seeing him as a baby face and as a funny guy. Like, I think that's his shtick. You know what I mean?
What do you think about Nakamura attacking Cody Rhodes?
That, again, it kind of throws you off because all of those backstage promos, we were all thinking that they were meant for CM Punk, right? When in reality, he was waiting for Cody, that he was tired of waiting for Cody to answer his, call, which, again, those vignettes that he was throwing out, they were, again, a lot of people were speculating that they were for CM Punk because a lot of the verbiage in it were kind of like old promos that he was talking about when he was in Ring of Honor and such. And of course, I think at one point during that, he also did the GTS a couple of times during a few of his matches. So for people to not speculate that was kind of crazy. I kind of, I was just like, well, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. If it's not, well, whatever, you know what I mean? As far as Cody goes, that just kind of it kind of throws you off because it's like, okay, if Nakamura isn't going to be feuding with Cody, CM Punk, then who will he be feuding with? And obviously, he spit the red mist in Cody's face, and that's going to be Cody's, next opponent, at least going into the Rumble. So I'm pretty sure that they're going to have some sort of heated rivalry going into January next year to Tampa Bay. My friend keeps asking me if I want to go to Tampa Bay. He's like, it's not too late to get tickets. I'm like, bruh. I'm still paying off the Rumble from this year, dude.
Oh, Jesus.
Even though I would love to go to Florida, right? I'd rather go to WrestleMania and do the 2 nights at WrestleMania in Philly instead. But I think it'll be good, right? I think that's that'll be another good feud that Cody gets into, one that makes that'll hopefully make a little more sense than the Brock Lesnar feud, right? No one really cared for the Brock Lesnar feud, and then of course his tag team run the last couple of months or a couple weeks, I guess, with Jey Uso, it just really wasn't working or it wasn't fitting, and that's why they pulled the belt off of him. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm really enjoying heel Nakamura. Of course, though, Nakamura needs to win his fucking matches, though. If they're gonna try to get this guy over as a heel, he needs to win his matches. I think that's what's kind of upsetting me about him and his feuds is he was feuding with Rollins and I fucking loved it, but it's have the guy lose the match, right? And again, rematch, he lost the rematch, so it's he needs to start winning his matches in order for me to take heel Nakamura more seriously. But I enjoy it. I enjoy the promos. You know what I mean?
I wonder what would happen if the writers booked backwards instead of forward. They came up with the blow off first, and then they first came off of, well, how are we going to end this feud, and then we're going to start writing from there because we already know how it's going to end. I wonder if that would improve the product.
I mean, it could, but I don't know, because I just feel like, yeah, like if you start in reverse, it's gonna throw people off, and who knows. But I mean, it also can lead to pretty good feuds. Also, I mean, it's not something that we see a lot of. I think
Oh no,
we
no,
have seen that in the past, but
yeah, but what I mean is, like I mean the writers. I don't mean doing working it backwards on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't know. It's just an idea because I don't think anybody's ever said that.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So, I mean, I can't comment too much on that since I don't know what the writers' minds are or think, I guess. So, but I guess it would be an interesting aspect to see that transition into the TV role, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Well, I guess I don't know any other mentions, before we go ahead and end the stream tonight. Thank you. We've been on for about an hour. I know you have your kiddo with you. So, anything else you want to add to the stream before we close out tonight?
Oh man, I'm trying to think, but I don't think so, bro.
Well, I think right now, currently, WWE is as hot as it's ever been, right? Especially with Punk being back. We're gonna have to kind of see where it goes. Will he be on SmackDown this Friday? Who knows? Who knows if he's going to be one of those guys that is going to be able to be on both shows? Maybe
if he is either Friday, if I were WWE, I would not promote it at all. I would just make it a surprise.
Yeah, they shouldn't promote it. I think that when they promote stuff like that, it kind of ruins the hype of it a little bit. So just fucking have him show up, But of course, I don't think it would be very valuable for him to show up unless Reigns is on the show. I think we need to see Roman, because I think I would want to see Punk on both shows, being a viable threat to either Rollins's or Roman Reigns' title, right? And I think since he does have heat with both of them, that it would just make sense for him to show up on both shows and kind of be that guy. And of course, is it taking away a little bit of Damian Priest's thunder as well, being the Money in the Bank holder? I think so as well.
Do you think that he's going to successfully cash in, or do you think he's going to be another one of those guys that he has the briefcase for nothing? Like he's going to lose anyways.
Well, I think he's going to cash in successfully, but it's going to have to be at WrestleMania, dude. I think for the moment to really count or matter, it has to be at WrestleMania. I think, he's been with the briefcase this long. I just don't see him. I don't see him cashing in on a Monday Night Raw or a Friday Night SmackDown. I don't see that happening. It has to be.
How long has he had that briefcase?
Since the pay-per-view, since the summer, I believe, since July, I believe, since he's had that briefcase. It's already almost 6 months that he's been, and they've trolled it here and there, like he was going to cash in at Survivor Series, but of course he was stopped. So I think for it to matter, maybe here's what I think is going to happen, right? We're going to see Philly Phil, One Bill Phil versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight Championship. And whatever happens, we're going to see Damian Priest interfere, and who knows, or maybe he'll turn it into a triple threat match, and it'll be like a triple threat match for, that we all love to enjoy and watch, especially at the WrestleMania pay-per-views. I think that they know how to pull those off pretty good. But yeah, I think that it could happen like that, or again, he could kind of do like a one-shot thing like Seth Rollins, where he just kind of gets in there and steals the title away from the other guy, and that's it. You know what I mean? So
what I would do? If that was if it was to be CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, I would have CM Punk win the match, and then after the match, Seth Rollins attacks him. Mm-hmm. A couple curb stomps, whatever. Yeah. Then Damian Priest comes out and successfully cashes it in.
Yeah, I think that would be a good route to go. But we'll see. I mean, again, it could happen at the Rumble. Who knows what's going to happen? Maybe we're going to see Phil versus, Seth Rollins at the Rumble. I don't know. I think that's where it's going to head. I don't think we're going to wait till WrestleMania for that match. I think it's going to be a match that happens sooner than later. But either way, I'm excited to see what WWE does with this and just continues to bring great content. That's what I want to see. I just want to see great content and be satisfied with what I'm watching, and less of AEW, hopefully.
And I want AEW. I feel like they could still stir the ship, right?
Yeah.
Steer. I'm sorry. They can still steer the ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Tony, you need a booker, dude. You need a booker. You need to get rid of the EVPs. You need to get all of them and make them wrestlers. And you need to grow some cojones.
Yep. I think that would be the right thing to do. Get a few writers, get a few people that know how to put a show together and make actual sense of the matches that are happening rather than just throwing shit against the wall and then being done with it. So,
and he needs to trim the roster.
I think so. I think that they have way too much talent, including the Ring of Honor, especially when you just have, talents from one brand go to the others and vice versa. It's just not consistent where you get like the same stars on the same shows every week,
and
right?
Look, I'm sorry, but I don't think Ronda Rousey is going to get is going to really help Ring of Honor like that.
Yeah.
Even if she ends up signing with them, because she did move the needle a little bit when she was in the WWE, but Ronda Rousey's biggest exposures have always been the UFC.
Yeah, and I really thought that's where she was heading back. She was going back for another UFC stint.
It really did not translate to wrestling. To be honest, it didn't really translate. It wasn't like Brock Lesnar or CM Punk even, to where they both moved the needle regardless of which sport they were in. It just didn't. I don't think it did it for Ronda Rousey.
Oh yeah, no, I believe so, and I think probably because the female division wasn't strong to begin with. I think that's what kind of hurts her. And yes, she kind of overshadowed. They when you just throw the strap on somebody who hasn't been there, especially at the beginning of her first couple of years, where they just gave her the belt. They just they try to make her like look so strong and this is that. And there's nothing like I first of all I commended her for transitioning and working because she was there every week. I saw her in a few live shows as well. On my end, and I respect that about her. I was never really a fan of what she was doing, though, whether she was a babyface or a heel. I just don't think that she was, I guess, chemically, bonding with the crowd. I think there was no bondage with the crowd at all. I think that's the portion of what she was not understanding, I guess, and maybe it was, just being able to get over. I think that was the toughest thing for her.
She needed a manager.
Yeah.
And no, not Paul Heyman. Okay.
Paul Heyman,
I don't know why everybody just brings up Paul Heyman when they talk about managers. He's a good manager, fine.
Yeah.
We need managers in wrestling again. Like with Ronda Rousey, first of all, I would have not ever had her smiling. I would have not ever had her doing that mad, angry face all the time. I'd have her just have a blank look, like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a determined to kick your ass look ready to compete, like with Brock.
Yeah.
Whenever Heyman was speaking about it, and he just starts bouncing, like jumping up and down, like he's getting ready for a fight. I would have did that with Ronda for beginners.
Yeah, and the fact that they kind of just gave her the Piper I guess gimmick. I wouldn't say gimmick, right? But like, the way she dressed and whatnot, I kind of just really.
I mean, she was influenced, but man, if Piper was still alive, that would have been a great manager for her.
Oh yeah,
because Piper on the mic, bro. Like, look at him in the 70s and 80s. Oh my goodness! Have you ever seen the video of Roddy Piper? I think it was in 1984, where and it's on YouTube, where he interviews Bruno Sammartino, and they end up getting into a scuffle.
Bro, that shit. Talk show, or was that?
No, it was in the ring. It was in the ring.
No, I didn't watch that, unfortunately.
Oh man, it's just incredible. And then Bruno, he's already in his 50s, but the giant meaty hands just lay in on Roddy Piper, and Roddy sells it, bro. Like it's just a great segment if you're an old school wrestling fan.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, maybe you can find the clip and send it to me later on YouTube. On YouTube, but yeah, he was one of my favorites, especially like in the mid 90s. I enjoyed watching him in his feud with like Hogan and whatnot. And even when he came back to WWE, even if it was just like cutting, little promos here and there, he was very fun to watch, especially during that era. He was a guy that you just paid attention to no matter what in the ring, because he always had something, great to say. He was probably in the top 5 as far as like best talkers in wrestling history.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
especially
I would say top 3,
especially the heels.
Yeah, no, he was great. Yeah, no, I love Piper, man. Honestly, I just really wish that they would have given him like a world title, but unfortunately, that was never the case.
Well, he never needed it, honestly.
Yeah, he never needed. He was like a guy like Jake the Snake, or even guys like Scott Hall, the guys that never really needed the top title to kind of be relevant and just be one of the top guys, a Hall of Famer.
I mean, honestly, if I was a wrestler and I got over enough where I didn't need a belt, and I was still in the main event spot, there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, some guys will need a belt to solidify them, even if it's just one time, like Kane, for example.
Yeah.
He had the WWE title for one day. He never had that belt again, but he was still going strong, throughout his career. Yeah, he's one of those exceptions. Like, I don't need a championship. I'm still going to be over.
Oh, yeah. And, he did win the World Heavyweight title a couple of times. They did put the strap back on him, but much, much later in his career, when he was, without the mask and everything like that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yes, sir. Well, all right. Let's.
Last 5 minutes, we have a new segment for the show I'm putting in.
All right. What's up?
Any tech news or comments?
Any what news or comments? Tech news? No, I don't have
comments. We got to go live one day. Like, even though we do this sporadically, like once every 2 or 3 weeks, we got to do one for just tech.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll check that out, I guess, one of these days. I don't know about tonight, though. But anyways, we'll save that for another time, though, Mill, because I'm a little bit tired also.
Yes, sir. You work tomorrow?
Yeah, I do, actually.
I got an interview tomorrow, and then I'm going to go drive like usual.
All right. Well, good luck on that, sir. I wish you well, and hopefully that all goes well, man. I'm keeping my fingers crossed on that job interview for you.
Appreciate it. And I'm going to send you that Piper/Bruno video. You just watch it whenever you can. It's short. All right. Well, this was the Scorpion Deathlock podcast with your boy Mill Hustles and HEB Mike. So
I'm gonna have to change my name on here. Yeah.
To the one person that was in here, we appreciate it. Tell your friends, your family, your fans, if you have any, to come check us out. Come check us out.
Come check us out. Yeah. You all have a good night. Thanks again for joining in. Smash that like button, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace. We'll see you later, Mill.